thank Kezia and Darren for leading us in worship this morning. Don't they do a fantastic job? And also to Hunter and Adam and Sarah and Micah for doing all the media and the sound and everything. We can't always forget that. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but something we've wanted to do for a long time, because when we bought this building 7 years ago, there's just some things we adopted. I don't know if you noticed the new screen and the projector there. Probably the words looked a little bit clearer, you know. It's weird for me because it's like the projector we had before was so old and ancient and stuff. There's actually a light that bounces off of it onto you, so I can actually see your faces too. So just know if you doze off today, I'll know very, very clearly. But we're glad you guys are here. You know, a couple weeks ago, I went and saw a brand new movie called Inside Out 2. And maybe you've seen the first one, or maybe you've seen the second one, or you're just aware of it. But how many of you have seen any of the Inside Out movies? Anybody? Okay, so you're pretty familiar with it, all right? Randy, it's okay. You can come over. We'll have a sleepover and you can watch it with me, okay? I got Disney Plus. Not a big deal. But it's this movie about this girl named Riley, and you can see her internal emotions. You can see inside of her, and you can see her emotions working together for her good. So you can see anger, you can see sadness, you can see joy, all of these emotions. And then in the second one, she's a preteen. So she starts getting some, I guess, more mature emotions. So she deals with embarrassment. She deals with anxiety and stuff. So it's a very interesting movie. Second one made me cry as somebody who deals with anxiety. But it got me thinking. And this is a question I kind of want to throw out at you. Isn't it true that all of us wear our inside emotions on the outside? You know what I'm talking about? What's inside of you, you wear it on the outside, and it's visible to everybody. I mean, I'll take myself as an example, okay? I have a face that I don't have a poker face. I have a face that exposes everything that I'm thinking and feeling. It's terrible, you know? And people will see it. I mean, if I'm angry, you'll see it on my face. If I'm anxious, you can see it on my face. If I'm sad, you can see it on my face. My eyes, my eyebrows, I don't know what it is. I have a lot of different facial expressions. And so, you know, people will come up to me and they'll say, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing, I'm fine." And they're like, "You don't look fine." And I'm like, shoot, they found me out, you know? My wife, Kate, she'll even tell me, "You need to fix your face," you know? Like if we're about to go see her family, or, you know, I'll be fair, we're seeing my family too, okay? Or, gosh, now both my families are gonna be mad at me. Anyway, but before we go in, Kate goes, "You need to fix your face." And I'm like, you know? And so I'm like looking in the mirror, like trying to make myself look happy or something like that. But we all do it differently. My wife, speaking of my wife, Kate, she has a different way of showing it. She has a great poker face. Like, you look at her, you think she's fine. But if you pay close attention, okay? If you're ever in the cafe and you want to find out how Kate really is, listen for the words and the tone, okay? The words that she uses and the tone reveals all. Now, I would do an impression of it, but I don't want to die today, okay? So you do with that what you want. But we all have a tell. You know, we could go around the room and we could probably look at the person next to you, the person you came to church with today, and say, "Oh yeah, let me tell you what they do." You know, I know what they're feeling on the inside, because there's this thing they do on the outside. They twirl their hair, or they breathe differently, or they eat angrily. You know, I mean, there's something that we all do that we all know. See, you're already looking at each other. Oh boy, we've stirred the pot now. But we all need to know what that is, because here's the thing. You may not know what emotions you wear on the outside, but everyone else does. You may not be aware of what's going on inside of you, and you may not be aware of what's being shown outside of you, but we all know. I mean, trust me, when you turn your back, we all talk about you, okay? All right? When dinner's over and you go and you watch TV, we're like, "What's wrong with Dad?" And we're like, you know, we can all see it on you. We all know. You know, when we drive home from Thanksgiving or drive home from Christmas or the party or whatever it is, I mean, we all saw it. We all dealt with it. We all experienced it. We'll turn to each other. Sometimes your kid or your teenager's in a certain mood and you're like, "What is wrong with them today? Did we break them? Did we do something wrong? Is it our fault? Is it their friend's fault? Is it I mean, what is it?" Because we can all see it and feel it. Because here's the truth. Your emotions are with you all the time. Your emotions go everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, there your emotions go as well. So here's the thing. You may think you're doing a great job of hiding it. You may think you're doing a great job of keeping it from everybody else. But the truth is that when you go home from work, what you felt at work goes home with you. When you walk into that meeting, everybody kind of knows what they're going to expect from you. Everybody knows that if it's going to be a difficult conversation or if it's going to be a change, oh, we all know how you feel about change. We all know how you feel about that certain topic. I mean, we already know because we've seen that inside emotion on the outside of you. So we need to be aware of these kinds of things. We need to be aware of these emotions and what we're feeling and how other people are experiencing them. Now, you may be thinking to yourself this morning, ew, David, why are we talking about emotions in church, right? I mean, what in the world do emotions have to do with the gospel and the Bible and Jesus or any of this stuff that we're here to do together? Well, I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad you understood the ew, David comment as well, right? Because the thing is that Jesus told us that the greatest command, right? The greatest command is to love God and love others. Very simple, but very demanding. Love God and love others, equally as important. So the biggest priority that we have as Christians and as followers of Jesus is our relationship with God and our relationship with others. This is the priority. This is the most important thing. And that's why your emotions are so very important, because your inner emotions play a part in this. Our inside emotions that are worn on the outside tend to rub against other people. Your anger, your jealousy, your envy, your sadness, your anxiety, your hope, your optimism, your pessimism, your joy, all of these things end up rubbing against other people that you are called to love. So we need to become aware of these emotions that are inside of us, that are being experienced on the outside. We have to become aware. And the problem is that most of us are completely unaware or in denial about our relationships. There are things that are in you that are being experienced outside of you that you think, oh, that's just normal. Everybody does that, or everybody has that. And you're completely unaware of your emotions and that they are being experienced by other people. But the other thing is that you may be in denial about the things that other people see on the outside of you that are inside of you. Like, for instance, I mean, if somebody came up to you and they're like, man, you are so angry. Like, you're angry. I think you're jealous. Our very first instinct, if anybody said anything like that, was we would deny it. We'd say, nuh-uh, I'm not angry. What are you talking about? I'm not jealous. I've never admitted that I've been jealous of anybody in all of my life. No, sad. I'm not sad. I'm not sad. Well, what's your face? I ate something. I had bad Mexican. I don't know what it was, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even related to what this thing is, you know? Or the other thing we would do is we would deflect. And deflect is when we try to put it off on the other person. If somebody said, I think you're angry, I think you're upset. No, I'm not angry. No, I tell you what, you're the one that's angry. You think I have an attitude problem? You're the one that has an attitude problem. Let me remind you what you said. Let me remind you what you brought up the other day. And we will deflect and try to put it on other people. See, we're in denial about our emotions. We deflect our emotions. We're unaware at times of how we are perceived by other people. But we need to know this. And kind of the goal of this series, what we're trying to do, this is my hope for the next 6 weeks. If we become more aware of what we look like on the outside, then we can go to work on what's happening on the inside. We need to understand what other people see on the outside. And then we can go to work on the root cause of what's going on the inside of us. So here's what today's going to look like. Pretty simple day. I'm going to share with you a story from the Bible of a time when somebody let their emotions get the best of them and ruin a relationship, because that's not what any of us want. And so we're going to use this as an illustration of what possibly could happen and kind of the warning that God gives through this story. And then I'm going to give you a question. And all I want you to do this week, very easy homework, all I want you to do is to go out this week and ask somebody this question, and then come back next week, and then we're going to unpack all of the different emotions that we have inside of us, okay? So pretty easy, all right? So we all good, all right? Everybody's got your seatbelt buckled, your table tray is up, you got your thing down, all right? We're all good? All right, so here's the thing. There's a story in the Old Testament. It comes from the book of Genesis. And it comes from the very first family, Adam and Eve. You know the story of Adam and Eve, created by God, kicked out of the garden, and guess what? They started a family. They had two sons, Cain and Abel. And they had jobs. They worked the ground alongside of their father and their mother. And this is what it says in Genesis 4. It tells us a little bit of their story. Now Abel kept flocks and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. So they both had a job. Both of them were a little bit different. And they brought their way and form of worship were to bring sacrifices to God and to lay them out on an altar. And so it says that Cain, he was doing some kind of harvesting, and he brought some fruits. Not the best, not the first, just what he could grab, right? So he brings that and he puts it at the altar. But Abel, he did something a little different. It says in the very next verse, but Abel brought an offering as well, but he brought the fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. So he brings an offering as well, but number one, he brings the very best, the fat portions. It's that part of the brisket that has all the flavor. You know what I'm talking about, Ryan? You know what I mean? It's that good stuff, right? He brings the good stuff, and he brings it the first, right? The first harvest that he has, the very best, the priority. That's what he brings to God. Now, just hearing that, if you were God, whose offering would you look at and go, wow, that's incredible. That's the real deal. Well, of course, it would be Abel's, right? And that's exactly what happened, because Abel brought the best. Abel brought the first. He brought the priority. And Cain, he just brought something. And so this is what it says next. And so the Lord looked in favor of Abel on his offering. Didn't say he hated Cain's. Didn't say he was mad at Cain's. He really liked Abel's offering. And guess what? This brought up a little bit of a problem. Because it says in the very next verse, but on Cain and his offering, he did not look in favor. God was not impressed. He was like, okay, well, thanks for bringing some fruit, right? And then all of a sudden, things start to happen inside of Cain. And in the very next verse, it tells us, so Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. All of a sudden, inside of Cain, something happened. He became angry. And that inside emotion was shown on his face. You could read his face and know that he was angry. What was inside came out, and it was visible on the outside. And God could see it. And God goes, uh-oh, danger, Will Robinson. Hey, whoa. Careful there, buddy. I think we might have a problem. And this is what God says to him. He says, then the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? I can see it on your face right now. If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? Now, here's the thing. God is doing something very, very interesting here, and you got to catch this, okay? Here's what God is doing. God sees it on his face, and he goes, wait a minute, buddy. Whoo. I can see from your face that you are angry. And he basically calls him out and goes, I don't understand why you're angry. See, the thing is I see that you're angry, and I see who your anger is pointed towards. It's pointed towards your brother. But your brother did nothing to hurt you. All your brother did was he did what he was supposed to, and you know you didn't give your best. You know you didn't do your best, and your offering was rejected. And that's what you're feeling inside of you. You are feeling rejection. And he says to Cain, but come on, man. Abel didn't do anything wrong. You shouldn't be mad at Abel. Abel just did what he was supposed to do. And you know that if you did what you were supposed to do, you would be correct. You would be okay. You would be in favor as well. But come on, man. Be very, very careful. Because I can see the rejection inside of you. I can see the hurt inside of you. And it is about to turn into something else. And you are about to direct it towards your brother. And it shouldn't be directed at your brother. and you're going to make a mistake, and you're going to have some regret. Here's the thing. If any of you in this room have ever been on the receiving end of somebody else's strong emotion, if you've been hurt by somebody else's emotion, in that moment, you've said to yourself, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Is it how I said it? Is it what I said? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe it's me. Maybe I should need to do things different. If you've been on the receiving end of somebody else's emotion, here's what you need to know this morning. Hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. And so many times, when you are on the receiving end of somebody else's very strong, very personal feeling emotion, their problem isn't even actually with you. So many times what they are dealing with inside of them is rejection, is fear, is anxiety, is doubt, is discontent, is anger, and it has nothing to do with you, and there's nothing you could have done about it. There's nothing you could have done to stop it, and guess what? There's nothing you can do to fix it. What is going on inside that person cannot be helped or determined by you. And God looks at Cain and he goes, dude, what's going on inside of you? If left unkept, if left undealt with, you're going to end up making a mistake. And I don't want to see you do that. So God says to Cain, he says, but if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. He says to him, dude, be very careful, because here is an opportunity and you're about to let it slip away. And then he says this. He says, it desires to have you, but you must rule over it. He says, I know what you're feeling inside, but you have to rule over it. If Jesus was here and Jesus was teaching this message, I know exactly what Jesus would say, because he said this in many different ways, in many different forms about our emotions. I think Jesus would say this. Hey guys, it's okay to have emotions, but don't let your emotions have you. The greatest priority that you have is your relationship with God and your relationship with others. Love God and love others. And look, in life, you're going to have stuff happen. It's going to bring up all kinds of emotions inside of you. You're going to have all of them, and they're going to be strong at times. And that is okay. But do not sin in the middle of your emotions. Don't let your emotions have you. Don't let your emotions control you. You've got to master them and take control of them. Now, if you don't know the end of the story, some of you grew up in church and you know exactly where this led to and what happened. But if you don't, I'll tell you the end of the story. Because what happened next is that Cain was angry and he took it out on his brother because he thought that his brother had done something wrong. And what ended up happening is, after this warning that God gave Cain, Cain takes his brother Abel into the field and he murders him, kills him. Many people say that this is the very first recorded murder that we have, because it was the very first human beings on this earth. And here's why I say that to you, and here's why this is so important. And this is literally probably the most important part of this sermon today. And this is a warning. It's a stern warning, but I promise you it's all in love. But I think somebody this morning, as I was working on this, needs to hear this, okay? Some of you are killing your relationships because of emotions inside of you that you haven't dealt with properly. Some of you are killing your relationship with your kid, with your daughter. You're killing your relationship with your son. You're killing your relationship with your parents. You're killing your relationships with your grandkids. You're killing your relationships with your friends. You're killing your relationships with your coworkers. That person who has been by your side, who has been with you through thick and through thin. You are killing that relationship. All because of an inside emotion, an inside hurt, an inside anger, an inside fear, an inside anxiety, an inside discontent that you're allowing to come out. And it's sin crouching at your door, and if left unkept, it will devour other people. It will devour relationships. And it won't even necessarily be about that other person, but it's just sometimes that person, because they're the closest, or because you can take it, or because you think you have a right to put it on them, you will put it on them and you will put it out at them. And you're going to end up killing that relationship. And I know that that's not you. I know that's not who you are. And I know that that is not what you want. So we've got to deal with this. We got to learn how to be aware of how we are on the outside so that we can go to work on what is happening on the inside. Because all of these different emotions, if left unkept, can destroy our relationships. So that leads us to our question. How are we going to do that? How are we going to become more aware? And I'm going to give you a question this morning. And it's probably one of the hardest questions that we've ever asked here at Anchored Hope. And we've asked some really, really hard questions. But this one is difficult. You're not going to want to do it. But there's so much opportunity in this question. And if you would do this, it may be quite possibly the bravest thing that you have ever done. So are you ready for this? Are you ready for the question? Yeah, neither was our first service. Complete silence. Okay, here we go. Here is the question. What's it like to be on the other side of me? See, even that baby was like, all right. Yeah. What's it like to be on the other side of me? This is such a good, important question because you know what? It reveals things about you that are inside of you that you may not even know were there. It's a question that opens up opportunity for you to learn something about yourself. And look, you're gonna look at this question, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to find three people. I want you to find three people, and I want you to ask them this question. Three different people. What's it like to be on the other side of me? And you need to ask this question. Do you know why you need to ask this question? It's because around you, others are suffering the consequences of your inside emotions. There are things that are going on inside of you that are being experienced on the outside. And there are others that are suffering. What you're going through with your work, what you're going through in your season of life, your loneliness, your doubt, your anger, your sadness, there are other people. It is not just isolated to you and yourself. Other people are dealing with it. Other people are seeing it. And other people are having experiences because of it. And so you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the people that you say you care about to figure out what it is like to be on the other side of you. But it's not all negative, okay? Because here's the truth too. Inside of you are beautiful things that you can't accept, but others of us see. It's not all bad. See, the thing is too, is that inside of you, there are beautiful, beautiful things that you are just oblivious to, that we see, that we get to experience. There are great, beautiful lights inside of you that we can all see, but you don't see them. And so you know what? You need to be told what those are. Because every single one of you, there are great qualities, beautiful things that bring all of us joy and peace and happiness. And you need to be told those things. Because I know you don't tell them to yourself. And I know that inside of you, there's a little voice that says you're not good enough and you're not that. And you need to try harder and you're not beautiful and you're not smart. And all of those different crises that we go through. You need to be told what those beautiful things are. And so you owe it to yourself to ask that question. What is it like to be on the other side of me? You need to know. You know why you need to know? Because we all know. We all know. And we all talk about it. And when you're gone or when you're not there, we talk about it. And so you need to know. And here's the thing. You don't know what you don't know until you know, right? You don't know what you don't know until you know. So you need to know. So you're going to ask the question. You're going to find three people that you trust and say, hey, you know me. What's it like to be on the other side of me? Now, if you do this, three things are going to happen, all right? These are my three Michael Davis guarantees. If this doesn't happen, you can have your money back, okay? Here's the thing. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to learn some surprising information, okay? You're going to hear something that goes, huh, really? That's interesting. I don't like you anymore. You know what I mean? Or you're going to learn something that's going to go, really? Huh. I had no clue that you thought my biceps were that big. That's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? I mean, you're something's going to catch you a little off guard, okay? So you're going to learn something surprising. You're going to learn something new about yourself. Could be bad, could be good. We'll see. It's 50-50. It's going to be one or the other, okay? The second thing that's going to happen is this. You're going to get some encouraging information. Somebody's going to say something to you, and you're going to go, oh, shucks. Yeah, you know? That thing where you can't look them in the eye, and you just kind of kick the ground. And you're like, stop it. Quit. Okay, tell me one more. Go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, say it to me again. Write it on the fridge. Let's put that somewhere we can know that exists, right? So you're going to get some encouraging information. And then here's the third thing. You're going to get your feelings hurt, okay? You're going to cry. You're going to be sad. You're going to be angry. You're going to hear something that's going to hurt your feelings, okay? You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I never knew that my grandchild thought that about me, or my kid thought that about me, or my parent thought that about me. You're going to hear something that's going to hurt you, and that's going to cause you to, again, deflect or deny or ignore, but you need to listen to it. You need that. You need to go through this. You need to learn these things, and it is going to be so uncomfortable. It is going to be emotional. It's going to be uncomfortable. But here's the thing. When that starts to creep in and starts to tempt you to not ask this question, here's what I want you to think of. You got to keep this at the forefront of your mind. Discomfort is the price for growth. Discomfort is always the price for growth. And here's the thing that I know about you. If we went around the room and I said, hey, do you want good relationships? Do you want a good relationship with your kid? Do you want a good relationship with your grandkid? Do you want a good relationship with your parents? Do you want a good relationship with your coworkers and your friends? You want a good relationship with everybody that's in your small group or everybody at your church? Every single one of you would say yes, 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 and yes. Absolutely. Okay. But here's the problem. It is one thing to say that you want good relationships. It's another thing to actually do something about it. You can say all day that I want a good relationship with my kids. Guess what? It takes way more to get that than just vacations and providing a roof over their head. You want a good relationship with your friends? You got to learn how to do that. You got to do something about it. And that means that sometimes we have to be a bit uncomfortable. And if we can do this, if we can ask this question, what is it like to be on the other side of me? You will find there's an opportunity there for you to grow in your relationships. Now, I want to give a disclaimer for those of you who are going to be asked this question, okay? Because some of you are going to ask somebody this question, and some of you are going to be on the receiving end, and they're going to come to you and say, hey, mom, brother, sister, honey, friend, what's it like to be on the other side of me? And you need to be very, very careful, because how you answer this question will determine if this person is ever, ever, ever going to be vulnerable with you again. Because if you sit down with somebody, you're like, hey, what's it like to be on the other side of me? And they go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm one of your three people. I'm so honored that you would come to me. And I've been thinking about this. I've been waiting for this. So ever since Pastor preached about it on Sunday, I've been waiting to tell you. So look, here's the deal. You're a witch, okay? If that's what you do, okay, good. It's over, okay? It's over. They're moving out. They're done. They're never going to be friends with you again. They're never going to talk to you again. You can't do that, all right? So you got to be very, 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 very careful, okay? But so here are the three things I want you to focus on. If you get asked this question, three things. Number one, I want you to take your time answering, okay? If you just fire off first thing out of your brain, it's going to go really, really bad. You need to take a breath, okay? You need to think about it before you answer. And you know what? You may have to even ask for 24 hours. I love that rule. Sometimes when I get a bad email or a bad phone call, I have a 24-hour rule. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait 24 hours. I'm going to let the temperature come down. I'm going to think about what I want to say. 24-hour rule, okay? Maybe you need to ask for that. Maybe say, hey, thank you so much for asking me this question. I'm honored that I'm one of your three people. Give me 24 hours. Can we have coffee? Can we sit down? Can we talk on the phone? Can we meet each other? I would love to answer this question. Just give me 24 hours. Take your time answering this question. The second thing is this. you need to start with encouragement, okay? If you do immediately go, yeah, I've been meaning to tell us, you're a jerk, okay? That's going to go bad. You need to start with some encouragement. We all need some encouragement, and I know because you're in a relationship with that person, there is something good you see in that person. You need to start with the good before you get to the bad. But then the last thing is, you need to be honest. You have to be honest with them. See, here's the thing. In the same way that you could blast somebody, put them on blast, and just obliterate them, you could also go the other direction and be too encouraging and not be honest with the person. Especially if you ask your spouse. I asked Kate, I said, so who would your 3 people be? She goes, not you. I'm not asking you. I can tell you that much for sure. I'm calling my 3 best friends. That's who I'm calling, right? But there will be, you think, like, if you ask your spouse, there could be a lot of tension here. So you could totally be tempted to be like, oh, honey, there ain't nothing wrong with you. I'm telling you that right now. You're just a peach, right? If you do that, you're lying, okay? Because I know, you call me. I know what she's like, all right? Anyway, so you've got to be both. You got to be encouraging, but you've got to both also be honest. Now, here's the thing about this question. What's it like to be on the other side of me? Going out and asking 3 people this question. I know what's going to happen. I've been a pastor a long time, was a pastor's kid before that. I know what's going to happen. Most of you won't do this. Yeah, see, you're already laughing because you know. You're like, no. You already pre-decided. You're like, yeah, no, I'm not coming to church next week. I'm on vacation in Tahiti. And so good luck with this series. I'm not getting, and we don't even have small groups, so there's not even anybody who can keep me accountable during the summer. So this is great, right? Most of you won't do this. I understand. And you could choose to do that, but here's what's going to happen. If you don't ask this question, you will be the only person who doesn't know what it's like to be on the other side of you. Because whether you like it or not, your inside emotions are real and they're there. And we are all dealing with them on the outside. And we all know, and we all talk about what you're like. You have a reputation, and I'm not talking about your reputation on social media, and I'm not talking about your reputation when things are all good. In the back of our minds and behind closed doors, and when you're not there, there is something we all see. It's so visible and it's so obvious, and you're the only one who's not in on the conversation. Would you like to be in on the conversation that's about you? Wouldn't you like to know, as uncomfortable as it may be, or as painful as it may be, or as embarrassing as it may be, wouldn't you like to know what everybody else already knows? Now, here's the thing. If you're new to Anchored Hope, I have one rule as a pastor, okay? My rule is I will never ask you to do anything that I am unwilling to do myself. I will never ask you to give money to something that I am unwilling to give to. I will never ask you to participate in something that I'm not 100% bought into. And I would never ask you to ask this question unless I asked it myself. And I already have. See, this question came up in a podcast that I was listening to. I love to listen to music and podcasts, but podcasts all the time and when I'm in the car. And I have a 10-year-old daughter, Olivia, 7-year-old son, Braden. And they're getting to the age where Olivia is just perceptive of everything. She hears everything. She listens to everything. She has opinion about everything. And she's about to be in 5th grade, and she's a preteen. Braden, he's 7 and a boy. He's still thinking of going home and playing Call of Duty with Riley. That's all he cares about, so he's kind of blanked out. But Olivia, she's listening. So anyway, I'm listening to this podcast, and this question comes up, and a way to better your relationships. And same rules, ask 3 people and stuff, and I was like, oh, man, this'll preach. Woo, okay. I'm going to put this into a series, and I can do this, and so I'm already thinking of all these things. And so, I'm driving in the car, and I can always see Olivia in my rearview mirror where she sits, and so I'm like, well, this is great. And Olivia's been listening to this whole thing, so she understands the rules, and she's, listening very well. And so I go, hey, Liv, hey, what's it like to be on the other side of me? Which was so stupid to do in the middle of driving to wherever we were. But I'm just nonchalant, and I'm just like, hey, Liv, what's it like to be on the other side of your dad, And I'm just waiting to hear, like, you're a great dad, or something like that. And you know what she says? She's so smart. She's so smart. She took a breath. She took a big breath, and she goes, and she said, Dad, when you're good, you are so good. When you are good, you are so good. But I know you deal with a lot, and you deal with a lot of other people, and you deal with their stuff, and then you have stuff that's going on inside of you. And I feel like that when stuff's going on inside of you, I'm the one who has to feel it. I'm the one that's closest to you, and I'm around you, and I'm smaller than you, and I'm your kid, and I have to listen to you. And I feel like when there's stuff going on inside of you, you take it out on me. And when you're hurt and you're angry, I'm the one who hears the loud. And I'm the one who hears how disturbed you are. And I get the brunt of your emotions. And I know you're not mad at me because I know I didn't do anything wrong. But I know you're mad at somebody or you're mad at yourself. And I'm the one that has to experience it. So now I'm driving and crying. And we get to where we were going. And I got out of the car and I immediately ran around back. Braden is not even out of his seatbelt yet, still thinking of ways to kill people. And I'm running to my daughter, and I just give her a big hug. And I said, thank you so much for being honest with me and telling me that. Let me tell you something. That was 4 weeks ago. And it has been such a game changer for Olivia and I's relationship. Because I will get up and I am dealing with stuff, and I'm the type of guy that, when I'm going through stuff, I get upset about the dumbest things. Who left the light on? Whose shoes are these? Why is this house always dirty? What are you guys doing? I've asked you 14 times to brush your teeth. Why have you not brushed your teeth? And it's just, I'm not really upset at them. It's just what is inside of me is coming out, and I got to take it out on somebody. And we all know this as parents. Sometimes your kids are the victims of that stuff and your emotions. Sometimes your spouse is that person, your emotions. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with what is going on inside of you. And I'll tell you, over the last 4 weeks, I've still had those emotions. I've still had those days. And Olivia has looked at me. She's given me the look. Like, bro, what do we talk about? It's hard when your 10-year-old daughter gives you the look like you know better. But you know what? She's given me the look, and I've stopped, and I've said, I know, you're right. I'm going to take a breath. I'm not upset with you. And she goes, oh, I know. I didn't do anything wrong, I go, I know. It has helped our relationship so much. We have grown so much closer with one another. And in turn, she has opened up to me about how she feels on the inside. And it has been a beautiful, beautiful season of growth for Olivia and I's relationship. We are closer now than we probably have ever been. And that's great to have with a preteen because she's about to get into those teen years. And let me tell you something. With my kids, I want to have a relationship to where when the day comes when they don't have to come home, they still want to come home. Not because they have to, but because they want to, because they have a relationship with their mom and their dad. I want that with my kids. And I'm scared to death of losing that when they become teenagers. And some of you parents who have teenagers, maybe you feel that right now. Like you're losing your relationship with your daughter, or you're losing your relationship with your son. Or maybe even you've got grown kids and you feel like that way. Look, here's the thing. It is never too late to fix that. It is never too late to go to work on that. The problem is that it requires some discomfort. It requires some vulnerability and some honesty. Are you willing to do that? How badly do you want this relationship to work? So I asked my daughter the question, what's it like to be on the other side of me? And I still have 2 other people to ask them that question. And I'm sure it will be encouraging. I'm sure it will be surprising. And I'm also sure I will get my feelings hurt. But I need to know what everybody else knows. And I need to see what everybody else sees so that I can go to God and I can let God go to work on what's going on inside of me. Because I believe that we can take these things, as painful as they may be, we can take them to the Father and say, God, I don't know what to do with this. And do you know what I believe that God will say to you? I believe God will say, finally. Finally. Because I know everybody else only sees the outside, but me, as your Father in heaven, I see the inside. And I know what you've been dealing with. And I've been waiting for you to bring this pain, this rejection, this sadness, this anxiety, this hurt, this bitterness, this pessimism. I've been waiting for you to bring it to me because I know what you can be. And I want to do something in you that you could never do by yourself. And this is an opportunity. And I promise you, God will go to work on your soul. And you will be better for it. And your relationships will be better for it. And your relationship with God will be better for it. And at the end of this, you will know better what it looks like to love God, to love others, and to ultimately learn how to love yourself. Let me pray for you this morning. Father God, this is a difficult conversation that requires a ton of bravery, a ton of vulnerability, and a ton of honesty. God, for those of us who ask this question, have mercy on our souls. God, be with us. Help us to not deny or deflect or to push away what we hear, but help us to receive it with mercy and grace and patience and kindness. And know that whatever we hear is only coming because this person cares for us. God, if we get asked this question, help us to be kind. Help us to do it with grace. Help us to have the bravery and courage to be honest. And God, would this be an opportunity for us to grow in our relationships, to be the parents we want to be, the spouse we want to be, the kids we want to be, the siblings we want to be, the cousins we want to be, the coworkers we want to be, the leaders we were born to be. God, will you do something new in us and through us? And would you do it from the inside out? In your name we pray.